The following video will be a request for comment and request for information on various subjects, and it will go off the rails like most of my videos do. Don't watch it. Pause the video, read the description and the links below, and if you want to watch the video, you can give me a view, but you don't owe me one. You don't have to comment, rate, or subscribe, or watch. Error 429. So close. Error 429. You sent too many archive requests to us, you filthy human. Submit your fingerprint or your biometric face picture and sign up with us. You can trust us. Always update your browser and or operating system. It'll never be updated enough. This site will never display correctly if you don't. Your browser and operating system has always been out of date. And we've always been affiliated with East Asia. Anyway, what is this about? Let me continue. Due to the influence of propaganda, the unreliability of individual memory, or the fallibility of our memories, and mortality of witnesses to what has happened in history and in the recent past, rewriting the events of the past to exert control over history and the narrative past by those in power so that they can maintain authority only happens if we refuse to maintain a set of standards and norms of comparison from the past, comparing the past and the present to hold them accountable. The authoritative, the powerful, only are able to consume us like cattle if we don't remember that it's happened before. Those who ignore history are doomed to repeat it. Those who wish to repeat history must destroy it. When I try to archive a website, I'm not doing it because I'm preserving some precious thing. I'm making sure that someone isn't going to get away with memory holing what they said and did. Archive.org, the Wayback Machine, is treated as the kinder, gentler version of this. And Archive.today overtly states this is so that this website was set up so that you can make archives and backup copies, not just screenshots, that are live copies of what happened on the internet to make them useful. And because both of these archive sources have been used in court against people who are very powerful, many, many very powerful people have very carefully and very secretly tried to destroy archivers. The fact that Google would keep a cached copy of a web page was something that people became very upset by. Lawyers don't like it because that means that their clients can't hide evidence. But what else am I doing? Okay, let's move on. The ministries of 1984, Ministry of Truth, Ministry of Love, etc., in the book, also in the movie. Ministry of Information in the United Kingdom was the prototypical template that they kind of held the thumb up to while they were drawing what they were going to do when they made that book. There's also the movie called Brazil that came out in 1985. Almost a reaction to 1984 not being like that. Both are artworks. Everyone should be required, I think, almost by law to watch the movies and then read the books, if there are books equivalent for each of them still. So let's talk about us Fahrenheit 451ers and archivists and the book burners. trends.google.com/trends/explore date equals all ampersand Q equals and then whatever you're looking up. Google Trends at one time was able to be archived, which means I could put in a query and make a perfect copy of it that showed on that date what was happening to the popularity of some subject. Now, it's not really popularity. You can look at a version of this to look up a forbidden word we're not allowed to say in YouTube. Think of any one of them. And you could look up how often people looked up that word or a phrase. And depending on which browser you're using, Google Trends will say, error. I can't look that up right now, Dave, because they don't want you to look it up because Google censors things. Me catching them doing it by archiving the Trends page at one time before and after an incident got too much attention and they needed to redact, showed a massive spike in the subject in, let's say, 2005 or whatever, that was missing. It was corrected. It was memory hold. Catching Google erasing history that they were at that time the only source of. So what comes up next? Google Trends, like every other website you might have noticed, has decided to make it to where you have to use the latest browser and the latest operating system, or they will just act like there's an error or a problem. Suddenly they're having mistakes happen. It's not as if they're causing them, so you'll have to update to the latest browser. In order to do anything on Google Trends, I'm using Firefox 115 ESR version that I've modified a lot so that it won't obey them. It still kicks and pisses and moans because they can't get away with doing anything on my computer like finding out where I've been and mining information. But they can still bitch and whine and hide that the website is simply refusing to load because I'm not letting it enable something. It's a free source. The only source I could find that's free, or at least doesn't require that you log in, and yes, I'm not kidding, a fingerprint and ID of your face and your picture ID for whatever country, city, county, or state you're in, or the equivalent thereof. A lot of these websites that want to show you trends want to do it so you can sell things on the internet. I'm doing it to find out whether or not someone looked up a certain expression at one time. A while ago, I did a video about Trump using a little used expression that's mostly used in the financial world because he's a real estate geek. That's what he did for a living for a ridiculous amount of time. He's aware of these things. And I found that it wasn't commonly used. It only trended recently. And then later, mysteriously, Google decided to make it to where there was a spike in the past, and I snapshotted a copy of that. I think Google doesn't like it when you hold them accountable by making not a screenshot, but a live copy that proves it really is something that website put out that shows that they're phoning up results now. Every other website that offers a trends graph or anything even partially like it, even just the data dump to where you build your own graph, all of them do at least one thing to make the website not work. A working website should work with whatever browser and operating system you show up at. It shouldn't go out of its way to fake failing. It shouldn't soft pedal the fact that it's being elitist. It should just say, you don't have a new enough browser. Most of them do that. But Google Trends and the others just fail silently and act like it's your computer's fault. I could use a bog standard copy of the operating system and browser I was using, and it would still fail. There's a certain minimum requirement, but they don't tell you what it is up front because they know that that's turning into the kiss of death, because using the latest operating system means the least secure operating system. Using only the newest browser, I'm not kidding, it demanded the newest browser, not one that was like literally 2 months old. Wanted the latest version. The least stable and least secure version. When I use Firefox ESRs, the ESR versions are the ones that have all patches applied up to that date and have no known security breaches. Now that's the best they can do. Also, they put it in their own back doors. They get a little mad when you point it out. But it's at least less likely to be tracked. Archives on archive.org are subject to subpoena and court cases where they have a sealed gag order kind of thing, where they tell them, don't tell anybody we erased this. Don't tell anybody we're demanding you erase it. Now, I understand if it's an archive copy of, something literally illegal. I'm not going to bring up a kind because, again, on YouTube and Google, we are censored no matter what our intentions are. It's just censorship, plain and simple. You're not allowed to say certain words. Newspeak. Eventually, your vocabulary will be so limited that you can't articulate any form of dissent. But anyway, having that happen at archive.org, where they literally erase proof that something happened. Okay, I understand it in some cases, but other cases, it's literally a corporation wanting to get rid of a whistleblower that caused them to be judged guilty. Enron, any company, the people who make Roundup, any company that really is humiliated, anybody with a shit ton of money can force the archive that we refer to as the archive, archive.org, to erase things. Archive today is specifically built to not let that happen. I need another version. And again, it has to work. Again, it can't complain about the operating system or the browser. If it can fucking get away with vending the information, it should do it. If I can see the web page with my browser, you're not allowed to refuse to let me see the data associated with it because of my browser. This is bullshit. So that's a deal breaker. No elitism. You can't demand I use the least secure operating system and the least secure browser. And I want to point out that the only thing I did to secure any of this was just get the least damaging one and turn off shit that made it insecure. Some extra services in both the operating system and the web browser. There's no excuse for excluding them. There's none. It can't care about your browser or operating system if it can get away with vending the information to you. I don't care if it's YouTube just knocking it off and just playing the damn video and shutting up like it did in the old days. Obviously, we're able to do it before. I don't care if it's Facebook going out of their way to alter the page to where it won't render because they include a JavaScript thing that when I block it, the page loads just fine for a couple of weeks until they load a new one. Deliberately lame ducking your website to compel people to use less secure browser and operating system. Have I hammered that through? So those websites no longer work. I can't use them. Period. Why? Because they don't want me to visit if my computer can't be broken into. It's really that straightforward. What's the other thing that makes it to where the website won't work? Well, again, Google Trends, literally sitting there with a blank screen when I'm trying to look up something. Next thing, when I run it through an archiver and it fights back. Archive.org and Archive Today, I tried to look up the forbidden word of the day. I always do that. I look for something that might be controversial on a regular basis. So what they'll do is they'll suppress any results so you can't look it up for a few days, except from authenticatable, real sources. For a little while, during another incident, someone would look up a specific brand of handgun because a specific person in Las Vegas used it for a specific purpose I'm not allowed to say on YouTube again. Remember, we're under censorship. See how stupid this sounds? So they censored every result. The company that was selling the gun wasn't able to be found anymore. You couldn't even get a picture of it. Then a little while later, they turned off the censorship block because they wanted people to be directed immediately to news sources. Now, I can understand this in a way, but censoring it to the point that you alter Google Trends and all these other things I've been talking about, that's a bit much. So the forbidden thing I looked up is, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but we use it, us geeks, look it up to see if it's going to be censored that week. That's it. And it's a specific word that has nothing to do with what you're thinking. So I looked up the forbidden word, and Google Trends acted like it didn't know what I typed in. What'd you say? I'm sorry. Type it in again. Oh, you did? Oh, I'm sorry. We have a reset connection. And then it brought up an error. 429. You sent too many archive requests. If you're not aware of that, that means Google and other websites literally know when you're trying to catch them in a lie and say, we're not going to let you record that. So anyway, what's my request for comment, request for information? Do any of you know of a graphing trend thing on the internet that is free without sign up, because that's breaking it too, because then I can't archive it, and doesn't require that I have the newest browser or operating system, and works to replace Google Trends, because now it's not working correctly because it's lying. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with all that. You'll need it.